Do athletes have the First Amendment, or should they just remain silent and play their sport? Should political views be exempt from a sports person's persona? Former Chicago Bulls shooting guard, two-time NBA champion as a player, two-time NBA champion as an assistant coach, and three-time NBA three-point shootout champion, Craig Hodges talks about being exiled from the NBA on CounterPoint with Gerard McClendon.
First, I want to thank Almighty God for His mercy for us to meet like this in such violent times, but at the same time, for us to be able to meet like this in a peaceful situation.
My grandpops, my uncles, they all taught me about the conscious athletes of that time. Jim Brown's, Muhammad Ali's, Lou Alcindor's, Kurt Flood's, guys that I look to as far as being able to balance consciousness and balance their sport.
What we're really talking about is refusing to separate athletic excellence with moral excellence.
Do athletes have the First Amendment, or should they just remain silent and play their sport? Give me a call, 844-777-9311. Gerard MC on Twitter and Facebook. At the Counterpoint, I've got Jerry Palm from CBS Sports, Maya Akai from Sports Chicago and the Rewind Sports 60, and former Chicago Bulls shooting guard, two-time NBA champion, two-time NBA champion as an assistant coach, and three-time NBA three-point shootout champion, Mr. Craig Hodges. I thank you three for being on the show today. We really appreciate you. I want to start with Jerry Palm.
Yes, sir.
Jerry, do athletes have the First Amendment?
Of course they do.
They do?
It's the law of the land. Of course you have the First Amendment right. The thing about freedom of speech, it doesn't free you from the consequences of your speech. So if you say something that's unpopular and you're in the public light, there could be repercussions brought upon you. In terms of loss of public support, if you have endorsements, loss of endorsements, if you are no longer seen as someone who's positive. I can't, as an employee of CBS, just go out and say whatever I want. And I mean, there are certainly things that I could say that would cost me my job. So while I have a First Amendment right, there can still be consequences. And for athletes, I mean, I think that's true as well. I mean, I think you're seeing a little bit of that with Colin Kaepernick. But, on the video we talked about Muhammad Ali, James Brown. Guys like that transcended their sport. I mean, they were not just great athletes. They were among the best ever at what they did. And I think because of that, they're given a little bit more freedom from the public in terms of what they'll tolerate them saying, as opposed to somebody who is not quite at that level of stardom.
Okay, so we're gonna get to that later. I know, Hodge, I know you're rambling in your seat, but I gotta go to Maya Kai. Maya Kai, First Amendment, do they have it?
I mean, they absolutely do, but it's like, Jerry said, it comes with a consequence, whether it's gonna be endorsement loss, whether the organization that you are part of, which understand there is that conflict of interest, whereas if I happen to be the organization that's employing you, if you're in the NBA, the NFL, and your views don't align with what my views are, which I'm, by the way, as a team, probably really not putting out there, it creates a lot of friction because the platform is for the fans to enjoy the sport. So the question is that fine line being crossed? And as you can see with Colin Kaepernick, he's now feeling the heat of making a choice, by the way, that the organization knew about and supported.
If Colin Kaepernick was Brady, all right, Tom Brady, would he get as much flack taking a knee at the Pledge of Allegiance, at the national anthem, if he was winning multiple Super Bowls, or would people kind of forgive it? What do you think, Maya?
Is he taking a knee for the same cause? Because it depends. If Tom Brady is taking a knee for the same cause,
but I'm winning Super Bowls.
The thing is, if he takes a knee for the same cause, someone says, Tom Brady, you're kind of a hero because you're speaking out for the underdog. You're taking a very strong stance against law enforcement and violence against black and brown people. So the conversation about the national anthem being against veterans may never come up because he's stepping outside of his comfort zone and he's representing people.
Good point. Craig Hodges. Okay, you're the man in the spotlight in between Jerry and Maya here, all right? So, Craig Hodges, tell us about your situation, but first, do athletes have the First Amendment?
Absolutely, and to piggyback on what Maya was saying, to me, it's one of those situations where the athlete has the right to do it, understands the ramifications, now has the choice to make. So the larger discussion to me is, why aren't more organizations being challenged? So when Colin takes a knee, the rank and file of the players are now put under the spotlight. Do you support him or are you against him? Now I'm saying, let's take that to the next level and say, why aren't owners, why aren't managers, why aren't general managers taking the forefront when they see this wrong going on in the community? So in Chicago, I'm challenging all the major sports franchises to make a pledge to community peace, make a pledge to community economic redevelopment, because in fact you have the wherewithal to do so. So I'm sure that conversation about Colin Kaepernick came up with Tom Brady at some point in the season, as in what Donald Trump would call locker room speech. So you know what I'm saying? So those conversations come up. But oftentimes, like Jerry was saying, when you take a public persona about it, now there becomes the point where ramifications happen. Likewise, when you're talking about upper scale athletes, Michael Jordan didn't go to the White House. No ramifications.
Wow. Possibly protected by the shield of Nike?
And whatever, and see, and that's the thing.
Hanes underwear, maybe?
And exactly, that when we look at the economics of a player, the economics of an athlete, the economics of a brand, that those carry weight, and the weight of it, we saw the weight of it in the Olympics this summer when the swimmers did the crazy stuff they did, and how quick endorsements were taken away and the like, in which they should have been. And see, there's some cases where you should get your job stripped from you.
Okay, but Craig Hodges, what happened to you?
Well, in my situation, and part of the reason I wrote my book was so people wouldn't speculate on what happened to me, I could tell someone what happened. That after a 10-year career, no team would give me an opportunity from a free agent end. My union wouldn't represent me. So it comes a point in time where you're left alone. Now, the part that bothered me more than anything, not from the union high side of things, the union administrative things, but from the rank and file of my brothers who are colleagues. The fact that we didn't say anything, the fact that we still don't say what we should be saying.
Were you good enough, though? The whole NBA ignored you. What were the stats that said I should be playing in the league now?
3 consecutive three-point championships and 2 world championships.
And nobody, you couldn't get a phone call.
Couldn't get a phone call.
Why?
Now my question.
Why? Let's go back to George W. Bush, or was it George H.W. Bush? H.W. Right. And the scenario that took place at the what happened?
Well, we went to the White House after winning our championship. We won in June. I thought we were going to go in June, but we didn't go into October. And the period of time in between gave me a chance to think about how I would present myself. I knew I would be wearing a dashiki, but at the same time, I felt that during that period of time, some things were going on, and the closer I got to it, the more I started to think about writing a letter. And I wrote a couple drafts to it, but the night before we went, it really hit me what I wanted to say, and I sat down and I wrote the letter. And the next morning, we got to the White House. I told Tim Hallam, who's our PR guy, that I wanted to give a letter to the president, and they told us that we couldn't hand anything directly to him, so we had to go through the press secretary, which I did. But when I met the president, I told him that I had written him a letter and would he consider reading it, and he was cool about it. I tell people all the time, Bush was the coolest cat. He was cooler than some of my teammates on that day, because he looked at me and I think he thought that I was African, in fact.
Yeah, he did.
And to some degree that was cool, but at the same time I thought that the way my teammates were somewhat apprehensive. You know, when you see me, they saw me wear dashikis the entire playoff run, so it wasn't like anything new.
So a dashiki at the White House with a letter, Jerry Palm, does this give the NBA the right to put Craig Hodges in exile when the man barely missed from behind the three-point stripe?
Of course not. I mean,
he was expressing his freedom of expression, part of the First Amendment.
I mean, what would be offensive about that?
Right.
I mean, there's nothing offensive about that. It's it's not like you went in there with a sign that says, Bush stinks or something like that, or down with America, or, you weren't doing anything unpatriotic. You weren't doing anything really even remotely offensive. I don't see why that would be a problem.
Maya Kai, this country has a very curious and peculiar relationship with so-called black, African, African American people that do things that are considered outside of what the norms of an American society should be. They're amplified when people of color do them, amplified even more when the athlete does it. Unfair or fair?
Oh, it's clearly unfair. I mean, if you look at recently what we've seen in regards to athletes protesting, if you take in LeBron, after what happened with Trayvon Martin, and wearing the hoodies and, him and Dwayne Wade doing those kind of things. We talk about the likes of Dwayne Wade and Carmelo Anthony standing up at the ESPYs and addressing this. It's definitely a different day. I think what's really complicated for most Americans that want it just to be a sport. They want it just to be entertained, and they feel like this is supposed to be the arena and the venue that I don't have to deal with my social issues, but yet here it is.
Yeah.
And I think what makes it more complicated now opposed to, let's say, 50 or 60 years ago with the civil rights movement is that what we're dealing with now is something that hits so much closer to home because we never resolve those issues. And when you talk about the level of violence that's happening to black and brown people, and now people are acknowledging it, and people are asking to say, well, law enforcement does things that's inappropriate. Not all of them, obviously, but because people deal in absolutes in our culture, they feel like if I speak out about what's wrong, then it's saying I'm demonizing law enforcement, or I'm saying that they're bad, opposed to saying, let's finally have the conversation in this country about race that we've never had.
Yes, let's go.
Bottom line.
I got about 2 minutes left in the segment. I'm going to go to Jerry, and then I'm going to talk with you more, Craig, in this next segment. Jerry, I'm looking at three things. Is an athlete a commodity, an athlete, or a human being when it comes to endorsement? You know what? I got to say that for the next segment because that's just too deep.
Can I say one more thing then
Yeah, go
about
ahead,
something
please.
what Maya said? You were talking about the race, being a factor in speaking out. And you had asked before, well, what if Tom Brady had done it? If Tom Brady was protesting on behalf of violence against minorities, that's very different than a minority protesting against violence.
Double standard?
Well, it's not so much a double standard, but then Tom Brady is speaking out on behalf of someone that's not him.
He's a member of dominant culture.
He's American.
Well,
He's American.
He's
American.
He's a member of the dominant culture, but he's also speaking out on behalf of someone a group that he does not belong to.
He's an advocate.
Yeah,
He
so he's
becomes an
advocating.
advocate, not an activist
So he would
per se.
definitely get a little bit more, I think, leeway
Me
because he's speaking out on behalf of someone else.
I agree with him.
Craig,
For instance.
I'm coming. Go ahead. Give me quickly. I got about 30 seconds.
American. American with a question mark behind it. Am I that? Am I that?
Where were you born, Craig Hodges?
Chicago Heights, Illinois.
That makes you an American.
So now the question becomes, should it be even a question? It shouldn't even, this shouldn't even be the question. It shouldn't be First Amendment. That shouldn't even be the question.
Okay, I gotta wrap it up. We're gonna stay with me for this next segment. It's getting hot in here. Do athletes have the First Amendment or should they just remain silent? Maybe they should just shut up and play their sport. Back in a moment with Jerry Palm, Maya Kai, and the wonderful Craig Hodges. Tweet me, post on Instagram, or send me a message on Facebook. Let's start the conversation. Your voice is important on CounterPoint.
When you think about Hodge going to the White House wearing a dashiki,
When I go to a royal occasion, I should dress in my royalty garment. Bush was cool to me when I got to the White House. That's an awesome garment.
and handing Bush a letter about every problem in the country,
When you meet the president, you can't give him anything. So in proper protocol, I gave it to his press secretary.
that takes a lot of integrity. Most people, when they get to the White House, they're not thinking about the whole world and how they can make a difference.
I didn't ever think that me going to the White House, asking President Bush to consider the issues of black people would cost me $40 to $50 million.
Wow. Craig Hodges, man, do athletes have the First Amendment or should they just shut up? Play your sport. Whew, tsh. Jerry Palm, Maya Kai, and Craig Hodges are with me on the discussion. I do want to do this right quick. I want to read a few Facebook comments. C.E. Burns says anyone who lives within our borders has the right, and especially those who pay taxes have the right, or else they are victims of tyranny. They have First Amendment. Reginald Theodore Hardaway says, of course, they are citizens who pay taxes and serve in the military. Athletes are American citizens. I remember they basically blackballed him for the White House appearance and his mouth. That was Garrick Young on Facebook. Let's talk about being an American.
Yes.
You were talking about it in the last segment.
Absolutely.
Craig Hodges,
Absolutely.
Chicago Bulls. I got my colors on today.
Appreciate
From the
you.
three-point line, he was deadly.
No doubt.
Yet he can't get a phone call from any other NBA team
Right.
because they blackballed you. Long Shot is the book. You basically catalog this story of being ostracized by your employer
Right.
for being African. How about that? For
Yeah.
being an indigenous African American citizen who wears a garment, a beautiful garment, and gets shoved out of the. How does this happen? Craig, seriously, man, how does this happen?
To me, during that period of time, it was probably one of the most conservative waves that we had during my lifetime. That was a conservative period of time, and didn't nobody want to hear it, man.
Yeah.
That it was about keeping the status quo. Hoop, get your paper, shut up, don't make no waves, keep it pushing, get another contract. Maybe when you get enough bread after you're done, you can speak to those issues.
Yeah.
That wasn't how I was raised, man.
So do you believe that athletes, pro athletes, are a commodity, an athlete, or a human being? What would be your 1 through 3?
Starting foundation human.
Okay, okay.
You feel me? And from that humanness, you find your God-given talents. Your God-given talents push you into sport and athletics.
Yeah.
Now that athleticism takes you to a point where you become a commodity within the context of the sport that you play because you have excelled to a certain level.
Yeah.
Now, every single one of us that go to the league, I always say that when I get to the league and make this bread, I'm going back home and do this. But when we get there, those who are agents in between, that's the static. That's the static that creates that apolitical athlete. That's the side that creates that apolitical human being that says, I am a rugged individual capitalist.
Yeah.
Who will create a 501c3 and do a couple camps and clinics and give out some turkeys and some backpacks for back to school. But when we talk about a comprehensive plan that will create economic development, health and wellness, after school programs, jobs and the like, that it's a total wholeness program that we have to get to. And I don't think that we have enough courage.
Ooh, the C word, courage.
To stand on that.
And the root word of courage comes from Latin, which means heart. We don't have the heart, do we?
And that's the sad part. When you look at at our athleticism and our athletic prowess, and you see someone that's 6'9", 285 pounds, can run through a brick wall, but can't speak to the hurt of their people because they are afraid that it will hurt their pocket.
Ooh. Okay, hold tight right there. I'm going to you, Jerry Palm, because what Craig just said goes right into the question I have for you. College athletes, are they more complicit? Many times they're thinking, one and done, so I'm going to listen to my coach, I'm going to shut up. Does a college athlete, are they even more, is their tongue even more enslaved than even a pro athlete?
Well, I suppose from that context, yes, but you're talking about a very small segment of the college athlete, right? I mean, even if you're talking about the big conference programs, just those 60-some schools, 5% of those are going to the next level, right? Everybody else is there to get their education, going to get a good education, and go on with their lives doing, as the NCAA likes to say, going pro in something other than sports, right? So, for those 1% or maybe 5% of just the very best schools, those athletes probably do feel like that they're somewhat restrained in the kinds of things that they can say because they're thinking about, their futures. And that's not unimportant, right? But that's a choice, right? Some of them are surely making that choice. Yeah. But they have to, I mean, you haven't made the money yet. Right. And you might have 2 or 3 generations and maybe even future generations of your family to care for. And for a lot of these kids, you might be the first child to go to college in your family.
So you better zip it up. You better zip it up.
So you're taking one for the team, the family team.
Literally. I'll come back to you, Craig, but Maya, let me ask you this. College athletes, are they slaves? Are they indentured servants? Should they just be quiet? You get out there, do your 2-a-days. I better see you in the weight room. By the way, we'll get you 3 tutors. You know what I'm saying?
You know,
Come on, Maya.
This is just one of those really slippery slopes. Because you look at the University of Missouri, their football team stepped up collectively
That's
and
right.
had a voice. I do believe there's an awakening among
doubt.
this new generation of young people that they have a voice. A lot of things have changed. I don't think there's that fear of speaking up because they're aware, they're awake. So I think that you're going to see more activism from more college athletes as time unfolds. I'll never compare an average everyday person to a slave because no one knows what that ever felt like.
Thank you.
So I'm going to say, when people say that to me, I'm going to stop because one, no one's making you go to that school.
Right.
No one's making you play that
Or go to
sport.
school at all.
It makes you, it's a collective choice.
Yeah.
Often, too many athletes, I'll say this, and I'll be really honest. If education is not something that's part of what's cultivated into you from your parents, your family, if you've been passed along your entire life, to be honest, you see very little value in activism.
Teach.
Or even in you getting education so you can further yourself. So to me, this is something that is like a 3-headed monster that it's easy to say, are you an indentured servant? Are you a slave? And I say no, because the bottom line is this, like, should they be paid? And I say absolutely not. Because one, your payment's supposed to be your education. But if you don't value it, then you don't see that as payment. Now, I do think there should be some caveats that if you don't finish, you should get to finish. I think there should be things that should be advantageous for them. But the very thing that's important, they see no value in it. And I would ask you this, if I'm a university that brings you in, and actually, scholarships are very lax.
Yeah.
They're very loose contracts because I can let you go if you're not meeting my expectations and so on and so forth.
They're kind of one-sided.
They're very one-sided
Yeah, the
to
national
a
letter of
degree.
intent is very
We look at the
one-sided.
money aspect of it only, but you can't change that because we could talk about that with Little League Baseball,
Yeah.
from Pop Warner. All those things have evolved in a way that nobody saw.
AAU.
They would make that kind of money,
yeah, for
AAU. But the bottom line is, everybody who takes those individuals to that next level, they never get to collect a check if you go pro.
Yeah.
But if you stay and get your education, that is supposed to be your value. And I know way too many college athletes that were smart enough to build relationships and network and got done with school and didn't go pro, but got a good job.
Yeah, and that's the way it should. And that's
that's the
actually
way that
the
it's
model.
supposed to be.
That's the model. Now, for the guys that can go pro, God bless them. You know, and I'm not a fan of the one and done because I think that's
Not either.
un-American. You know, if you're good enough out of high school or even while you're in high school to play at the NBA, why shouldn't you be allowed to play in the NBA?
Right.
That rule was put in place to protect their owners from their own stupidity.
Yeah.
And so that's
Well,
kind of why we
well,
have that. But
It's
well,
commodified.
because they made so many.
It's
Well, they made
commodified too, though. It's commodified because for some NCAA Division I, when we look at March Madness or any other tournament like that, when we look at college football now, you're looking at billions of dollars
Yes.
in television rights
Yes.
being transferred, and the athletes don't even have a mutual
but
fund
you know
at
how
the end of
many-
the
you know-
And here's the other thing: a lot of times NCAA sports on that level, it's really the A, B, C, or D league.
You know
Let's-
how many
let's-
athletic departments run without any subsidies from the university?
And see,
well,
we
you know,
are talking
yeah,
about the
yeah,
upper. We're talking about
yeah.
not your mid-major schools.
We talk about blue
Well,
chippers.
We're
well,
talking
for-
about blue chippers. I mean, every
Yeah,
school
but-
doesn't have the kind of revenue coming in
Yeah, but
from
there's
sports.
only 12.
Chicago
Yeah.
State.
Even among the big schools, only 12 schools,
Yes.
athletic departments are self-funded.
Okay, so
By the way, one of which is Purdue.
I got about 3 minutes left. Craig Hodges, I'm gonna do a petition. I'm gonna march on Washington with a sign that says, "Free Craig Hodges." He should be making just as much money as
it's all-
Steph Curry.
it's all good.
Free Craig
It's all
Hodges.
good.
Brother,
Yes.
your three-point prowess was unbelievable. And do you feel that Long Shot, the book that you wrote, is a form of redemption?
Well, I'm not so much looking at redemption. I'm looking at, this is something I wanted to do, man. I love to write since I was probably 6, 7 years old. And to be able to put my thoughts and get people to realize what I was thinking about without saying it is cold to me.
Yeah.
So for me, just being published is a new challenge that I look at when I first learned how to shoot a jump shot. Now I'm learning how to write.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the same upside, the same trajectory. Now I can write about different things and different things that can affect the bottom line on the solution.
I'm gonna let Craig get the last word. I'm gonna go to Jerry. Go ahead, you have a comment.
I want to ask Craig a question. If you had known the ramifications of speaking out and wearing the dashiki and giving the letter, would you still have done it?
Absolutely.
Maya, what do you think about that comment?
I think it's authentic. I do.
Yeah.
Because he knew the risk was there when he took it. Probably not the gravity
Right,
of
and
the risk.
I liken it to when you making a movement like that. Did Dr. King, when he walked out on the balcony, know he was getting ready to get shot? When the brothers put their fist up, they didn't know that when they got back home they weren't gonna get no jobs. You know what I'm saying? But you are caught into a spiritual moment, man, that you can't recapture. You can't. I don't know if we was gonna win again and we were gonna get to go to the White House. We won this time, and all the struggles to get there through the Pistons, and we might not get
Here's
back.
the question I'd ask: is the letter in the book? Because we like to know what was in that infamous
Yeah.
letter. What was so just I guess, unnerving to people that it literally ended your image.
Make it public.
It's only a portion of it in here. It's in excerpts, and that's one of the things that I did a thing called a letter with ESPN for 30 for 30, and they shelved it, and the league won't allow them to play it, which is cold piece.
And all these years later,
Well,
why?
they're rights holder for
You
the-
know
for
what?
the
This
league.
is a whole nother show.
Absolutely.
Yes, it is.
You know what?
Absolutely, brother.
Because wow, I got to bring you guys back.
Oh, we'd love to.
Do they want literate athletes? Craig, I
say
gotta
what?
go, man. I gotta
know you
wind this
gotta
show.
go. Do they want Americans to love Americans?
I got it. He gets the last word. Exercising your constitutional right of freedom of speech is always correct. Only the bullies show up when your First Amendment stance overshadows and supersede their beliefs. Maya Kai, Greg Hodges, and Jerry. Help me out, Jerry. Jerry Palm. Thanks for watching Counterpoint. I need you to keep your head up and always be encouraged to voice your counterpoint. Have a great week.